Welcome to the Dose of Good podcast, where we celebrate good people and organizations working to make the world a better place. It can be easy to get caught up in the bad things going on in the world and forget about the good happening all around us each and every day. I'm your host, Erin, and I want to share these stories with you and give them the attention they deserve. I hope this podcast educates and inspires you and maybe even motivates you to share a dose of good in your community. Now let's get into today's episode. Today's episode features Granite United Way, which is one of the branches of United Way that covers the state of New Hampshire. They actually cover a very large portion of New Hampshire, and we'll get into more detail about that in the episode, but I speak to Nichole Reimer, who is the president and CEO of Granite United Way, and like many of you, probably I've heard of United Way, and they always kind of seem to be involved in the community and have things going on, but I didn't have a full understanding of exactly what type of organization they are or what they do. So hopefully this will give you a better understanding of at least what they're doing in the state of New Hampshire, and I'm sure it's very similar in other states and communities. And I hope that you enjoy listening to today's episode and learning more about them. Today I'm here with Nichole Reimer, President and CEO of Granite United Way. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
So could you start by talking a little bit about Granite United Way's mission?
Sure. So we have a very broad mission at Granite United Way. So really to mobilize the caring power of community to improve lives. So it's a simple but very big and broad mission. But I really like to think of it as just we're out there supporting people, and that every community really deserves a thriving United Way, because you need that organization that can help whenever it's needed, fill the gaps, jump in. What's great about having such a broad mission is that we're kind of flexible. So if a need arises, we can be there to respond. And that's kind of a really great thing about United Way, I think. So
yeah, that's good to know that you have that flexibility and everything. So how did you yourself become involved with United Way? And can you tell us a little bit about what your role entails?
Sure. So I have been with United Way, I always say, about off and on. I keep coming back because I love it. I love that broad mission and that we're just always there to help in whatever way we can. I started with United Way back I worked at a YMCA in Dallas, Texas. I was a volunteer with a program called Jesuit Volunteer Corps. So it's like a domestic Peace Corps type thing is the best way I can describe it, and was placed in a program there that was affiliated with the YMCA there, doing tutoring and mentoring with students. And I really had the opportunity then, so this is back in the mid-'90s, to present at a United Way rally at a workplace. So I remember going to a UPS. This is back when everybody had their United Way workplace campaigns, which was a staple for years of United Way, of people giving a little from their paycheck right back into community. And I got to present about our Y program, which was funded in part by some United Way grants at a UPS on the floor with, 100 employees coming in for their shift, and tell them about why our program was important and why we appreciated United Way's support. And so that kind of sold me to see how everybody could come together to make a difference in their community and give back. And I thought that was really neat. So when I moved back to New England, I grew up in Massachusetts and in the Merrimack Valley, and then have lived in southern New Hampshire for 20 plus years. When I came back to New England, I took a job at a United Way running a volunteer center because I had heard about United Way, had that experience, and wanted to keep giving back. So I've really never turned back. So had a lot of different roles at United Way. So I ran a volunteer center back then in Lawrence, Massachusetts, and then was with United Way when I moved to New Hampshire. Back then, there were 10 separate United Ways. We've since merged. There's 3 United Ways in New Hampshire now. We cover about 85% of the state.
Oh, wow.
But at the time, there was United Ways in New Hampshire, and we were trying to build the 211 information and referral program. So people can call 211 for help. I'm sure we'll can dive into that a little later
Yeah.
in our discussion. But I helped build that program as my role then, and then have had different roles throughout United Way, both in fundraising and in some of our community impact work, and now taking on leadership, which is really a wonderful privilege. I've always been on the doing side, and it's really a privilege and an honor to kind of be the chief advocate, if you will, for all the great work we do across the state.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I like to learn a little background
Yeah.
of, how people get into doing such great work and everything. So, and it may be, again, too broad to say, but can you talk about a little bit of the services that Granite United Way offers?
Yeah, I always try to, it is really hard to, like you said, distill it down into just a couple of things. And I get that question a lot. I think we're out there, and even just the few things I probably mentioned in the opening couple minutes here. Oftentimes when I'm out talking to people, like, I didn't know United Way did that, and I didn't know United Way did that. I like to put it simply because United Way's been around almost 100 years in New Hampshire and about 100 years across the U.S.
Okay.
And we have changed a lot, obviously, in how we do things and the different programming we have and how we adjust to the community needs. But I like to say it's also hasn't changed that much in 100 years. Our biggest job, I think, is to gather resources and bring them together, people, money, and get that out into community where it's needed most. So I think simply put, that's what we do, but we do a lot in New Hampshire, across the state. Like I mentioned, we cover about 85% of the state. We do a lot of what people might consider traditional United Way work. We bring people together and to give money back into community. We bring people together to volunteer in community, and that work, we bring people together to do drives, backpack drives, and hygiene kit drives, and all of that sort of summer camp kits we've done. So that volunteerism, those drives, and that fundraising that we do is still a big part of what we do, and we make sure that gets out to community through grants and such to partner agencies. So that's one piece of our work. The other piece is we really leverage a lot of our relationships to bring in resources from everywhere. So not just our donors, but certainly our donors and the volunteers that work with us, but also government, corporate foundations, grants, all kinds of things to really drive change in a couple of critical areas. So we really are focused on housing and financial empowerment, so making sure people have access to safe and affordable and housing and stay in that housing. So we have some programming around that. And we also support agencies that are working in homelessness and housing. We also do quite a bit of work in early childhood development and family support space. So we work very closely with, for example, family resource centers across the state. Again, both funding them, but also we have some contract work to do some work with them in terms of technical assistance, collaborating, convening, that type of work. We also are very, very committed to public health in the state, particularly a focus on behavioral health, so substance use disorder issues, mental health and access to mental health supports and care. A lot of that work we do in a couple of different ways. We do run 3 of the 13 public health networks in the state of New Hampshire. So working in those ways with the towns we work with. In fact, I know we're sitting here in our southern area. We do run the Greater Darien, Salem area public health network, South Central Public Health Network. And those really work on a host of public health issues, from vaccines to prevention around substance use work to suicide prevention work. So a whole host of public health issues there. We also run Recovery Friendly Workplace, so supporting organizations and companies that we work with in being recovery friendly and helping folks who they or their family members may be in recovery or struggling with substance use issues, supporting them so that they can maintain their jobs and that those companies can retain them. So we do a lot of great work there. And then, of course, we run 211, so we connect thousands of people to help and resources all the time. And that's what United Way does, really, right? We're out there connecting people to all of these things. So really that lifting up partners and nonprofit agencies who get the work done and help people when they're in need, and then really working collectively to solve issues around housing and health and family support needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well,
It's a lot.
I was going to say.
It gets a mouthful. But
Yeah, you do. You cover a lot of areas, which is great. It's not like some where it's just very specified to one thing. You're covering a lot of different great things.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
do you want to talk a little bit about 211 and what that does for people? Or
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
I'm always happy to talk about 211.
Okay.
So, like I said, I got to be on the groundwork with,
Yeah.
building 211. And I think it's just a great resource. I mean, and it really has evolved over the years, too, to be, to also be what the community needs it to be. So, to a large sense. So, 211 it is information and referral. So, I do try to make that clear to people when they call 211. They won't, necessarily get the work done there. They are going to be referred likely to an agency, but it really does a ton of great work. So 211 is, a simple number to dial, and there is so much need out there, and people just sometimes don't know how to work their way through the system.
Exactly,
and so
yeah.
being connected to a live person who can help them work through that, I think, is really important. So when someone calls 211, a lot of our 211 people, it's confidential. They're not asked. They are asked age and zip code, so we can kind of point them in the right direction. They are also asked and can optionally answer if they are a veteran or if they have children in the home, because that obviously those are things that can open up different resources.
Yeah.
So that's really important. But I think what's really neat about 211 is when someone calls to, so a lot of times. One, you can call for anything, right? Any of us can call 211. We could anybody might need it at some time. A lot of people don't even know it's there because it's one of those things you don't call till you need it.
Yeah.
But it also, I think, for people who do have a need, say they're struggling to pay their utility bill or they're struggling to pay their mortgage. A lot of times there are other things they're probably struggling with too, or ways they could save on something else they qualify for and then have some resources to put towards that other need they're missing. So that can be walked through a little bit by asking certain questions. So I love 211 for that. It connects thousands of people to help every year. It's also, it is the entry point for the Doorways system in New Hampshire that connects people experiencing a substance use issue to help to one of the Doorway hospitals across the state or Doorway organizations throughout the state so they can get immediate help, so live transfers to them.
Oh, great.
And we do work, obviously, around other crisis-type things like homelessness and things. We are not 988 or any of the, so for true crisis, people call 911 if it's a medical emergency, 988 if they're experiencing any mental health crises. But to be connected to help, it's a really great program. It does connect thousands of people. It's been a great resource. We really saw an uptick in calls because it was heavily promoted during COVID as a resource. We worked with the state, and there was a lot of work to get people to vaccines and, and get some information out. And so 211's a great resource in that way. And I think it's really important we have it in the state. And as needs increase, it helps us track a little bit what the needs are, too. It is not the end-all, be-all, because we don't know why people pick up the phone or how they found out about us always. But it is a way to get like a little bit of a barometer on, oh, wow, we've seen an uptick in calls around housing and rental assistance, for example, could be an issue, and be like, maybe there's something there and we should look at that. And as United Way, we can do that, right? And now start to say maybe we should bring some people around that, or maybe we need to focus some funding on that issue or something like that. So,
yeah, that's great too, definitely.
So 211's a very robust program, and it is a fantastic team over there. You can't beat the people who work for us at 211.
Nice. And then kind of while we're on this subject of like public health and that sort of stuff, I know there's kind of a more recent development that you or Granite United Way has kind of taken over managing the New Hampshire opioid abatement community grants program. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I can share a little bit about that.
Okay.
So as you know, we're very involved in public health and issues around health, and we're also a grant maker, right? That's part of what we do. So we do local response grants. We give grants around a couple of the other areas we care about. And this is a little bit about, we try to bring resources in from all kinds of places, including government resources, and get them back out into community. So the opioid abatement community grants program, that was something that we're doing in partnership with the Department of Health and Human Services and the Opioid Abatement Advisory Commission.
Okay.
So this is from settlement money
Okay.
around the opioid crisis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this is a portion of that money that's going to be going out in community grants. So we were awarded that. It was a request for proposal from the state, from Department of Health and Human Services in partnership with the Opioid Abatement Commission, and that was awarded to Granite United Way to help get that money out to community-based organizations that are addressing issues around recovery, prevention, and treatment as it applies to opioid use and related issues. So that was recently awarded and approved by governor and council back in late June. So it's just starting to get off the ground. Again, it's in partnership, so we're constantly talking and reporting to the state as well. It is, I think, going to be a very meaningful and impactful program. So there's going to be a couple opportunities around that. There is up to $10 million over 2 years to be distributed out in community around those issues that align with the Opioid Abatement Committee strategies And it is going to be in two parts. There are a series of responsive grants up to about $15,000 for projects that address some of these issues. So this could be training for staff, that type of thing.
Sure.
And so those will be given out multiple times throughout the year, or offered multiple times throughout the year. And then there are some multi-year operational grants up to $75,000 that will also be available at some point. So we're thinking later this fall that the first applications will be out and available to folks to apply. It is being done also in partnership with a community advisory team that we're putting together right now. We just recently we had people send in letters of intent for if they wanted to be a part of, and they're recently selected, so that information will be out soon. But that community advisory team is made up of people with lived experience, providers from the recovery field, various organizations, and representation across the state. I think that's important to note, too. Well, we cover 85% of the state. This grant program will be available in every part of New Hampshire. So we are working in close partnership with the other United Ways in Nashua and Monadnock area as well. To make sure we have good representation. But that community advisory team will help guide what the process looks like and make sure that it's really aligned with what the needs are in that community. So we're very excited about that. I think that's a great opportunity to create significant impact and make sure these dollars are used well and used in a way that aligns with the strategies we know are successful.
Yeah. It sounds like it's going to have hopefully a positive impact. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The other thing I had written down, I don't know if this is related to grants, but I was on the site and I wanted to make sure in case you want to talk about it, is the Mary Gale Foundation.
Yeah, sure. I can talk about that too. So yeah, like I said, United Way, getting resources out to community where it's needed most. So we do that with the money we raise in campaign. We give out a couple of times a year in responsive grants, so meeting sort of immediate needs of local nonprofit organizations across our footprint. So that's something we offer. We've always offered community grants in some way. That's what they look like now. They are more responsive immediate need-based grants. And those we offer 2 or 3 times throughout the year, throughout the calendar year. And those are in every single one of our communities. We offer those, and there's a local advisory team, what we call community impact committees, in those communities that make those decisions. So it's not staff making those decisions. We put the process in place, but those are, we raise the money to help fund that, but they are the ones making decisions on where those go, so that they're meeting the needs of the organizations they know are doing a good job in those communities and meeting the needs that are most prevalent in those communities. That's one thing. Then we have some targeted funds that we work with companies and government and others to get out to meet specific needs. Opioid is one example of that. That's a really big and unique program this year. But we've done that with other things too. We've worked with corporate partners to fund family resource centers, for example, because we had a couple of companies that were really wanting to address adverse childhood experiences last year, and that aligns with our youth work. So We've gotten things out on that. So that's some of the targeted funding we do, depending on matching the resource with the need. And then Mary Gale and those others, those are processes we manage. So Mary Gale is a trust that was set up in the greater Manchester area that is to support aging women who are in need. So that is a process we run. That usually opens at around the first of the year, around January every year. And that puts a significant amount of money, over $500,000 out into organizations serving aging women in Greater Manchester. And so that's another program we do run, another grant-making program that we help manage.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, in coordination. And that's also local volunteers. I think that's the most important thing to note, is that every one of those processes, whether it's the community advisory team on the opioid grants, whether it's those impact committees on the local community grants we make every year, or whether it's Mary Gale, who they have their own board that oversees their trust of volunteers who live and work in community.
Right.
It's experts who know the work, who live there, who care about their communities, helping make those decisions. That makes United Way unique, and in 100 years of history, that part has never changed. Volunteers have always been central to being a part of the decision-making process.
Okay, yeah, that's one thing I usually like to ask is what volunteer opportunities you have available, and it sounds like you would have a variety of them because you've got so many different areas. So
yeah, volunteers, I mean, we see that as central to what we do. And I think people being involved in community means that then it just keeps giving, right? And they're more likely to give back money. They're more likely to bring the next generation along to give back and get involved, all of those things. So volunteerism is a very central part of what we do. We have some big goals in our strategic plan to engage 10,000 volunteers, because there was a little drop-off after COVID. People, just weren't out there as much, right? And now we've seen that desire, especially from some of our companies that we work with. They want people out there and doing teamwork. So we have a lot of opportunities. We have more board type opportunities. So people can, we have a large board of directors with representation from all over our state. So that's one way to get involved. We have those local community impact committees that help make local grant decisions and help support our teams across the state and understanding local need and raising funds locally and driving volunteerism locally. So those are some of our leadership volunteer opportunities, but we also do a lot of, very hands-on volunteering to help lift our partners and provide capacity to nonprofit agencies. So everything from, we run a big day of caring every year. We used to run it in the fall. We've switched that to the spring. It was a little better fit for some folks, and we were able to get some more engagement. Weather tends to be a little better too sometimes. And there's need then, right? Get camps ready for summer, do all that. So we still run those big days of caring where we can get teams of people out there where they're interacting, they're building team, and they're giving something important back. So that's still a central event of United Way. We also have opportunities throughout the year. So we have on our website, you can link to volunteer opportunities, and we're always posting stuff that our partners have. So people can get involved, and those could be one-offs, those could be recurring things, those might be a special cleanup, like I mentioned. We have that stuff going on year-round to engage people. And then, like I said, some of the more leadership opportunities, if you really want to get involved and help with deciding grant making or help with fundraising or things like that, we obviously welcome that as well. So,
well, that's good for people to know that there's always opportunities to get involved in everything. Can you tell me a little bit more about that day of, did you say Day of Giving?
Day of Caring,
Caring, okay.
Yeah, so Day of Caring has been a United Way event for as long as I can think. I think Day of Action is what it's called in some places. But Day of Caring brings together, we had over 2,000 volunteers at our last Day of Caring that go out in community helping hundreds of nonprofits on one day. So it's really neat in a lot of ways because, one, nonprofits look forward to it. They have it helps them get something done they could never get done. A lot of times I tell people that's just another way of giving back because it would cost them money to go paint the clubhouse or put the new playground up in the children's area at the YMCA or clean up the courts at the Boys and Girls Club or get camp ready for summer or any of those things that we do that really helps that organization because otherwise they would take their staff time. And everybody is, their cups are very, very full.
Of course,
right?
yes, I can imagine.
So that's a wonderful event in that way. It also, I think, is a great event in that it advocates for the sector.
Yeah.
It's promoting all the needs we have out there on one big day. It's, and it's an advocacy for volunteerism and how important that is and how that makes us all feel good. Too,
I think that's great. Do you have throughout the year any big fundraisers or events that you want to highlight?
Yeah, we're not super event driven, but I will say in terms of we do events to kind of celebrate our work and, of course, do things like Day of Caring, like I mentioned. Yeah. But I would say in terms of giving, it is September. It's still, we fundraise all year round now, but it is still campaign season. So if there are companies out there that want to get involved, they can certainly go to our website and graniteuw.org and look at some of the opportunities there to either volunteer or run a campaign.
Sure.
Workplace campaigns are still really important to us
of course,
in trying to get people involved. And I think it's just a great way to start, too. You give a little out of your paycheck every week, you get involved.
Yeah.
We run quite a few appeals throughout the year, too, for either special projects or just to support our grant making and things. So if people want to give, there is always information on our website too.
Okay,
to give
great.
There. So while we don't have events, we have events throughout the year that people can join and things they can give back to. So and then again, if people want to volunteer in a deep ongoing way, we've got those community impact committees that people can join as well. So lots of opportunities to engage with us throughout the year, I think. So,
yeah, that's great. So are there any specific areas that you want to go in more detail about, or is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to make sure we cover?
I would just really, again, say sort of that United Way is an evolving organization, and it is hard to describe in one way. We're not a single cause, like you said at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think what we are is we are on top of the issues that are most impacting our state and know where the needs are. And I think have a pretty good pulse on the partners and agencies that are helping get the work done. And we work very collaboratively with them. And then, I think a lot of times, we don't have a ton of direct service programming, but we do have 211. We do have a program called Key Connect that brings together landlords and case managers and clients seeking housing, voucher holders, others, so that they can find each other and they can partner and we can keep people in stable and affordable housing who need it. We do some unique stuff. People don't know we run in our public health space. We run a couple of veterans coalitions. So we do target on some populations that we know need and connect people to help. So I just think people don't realize all United Way does. So I could go on, but I think I also think something you said, they don't know what we do, but also if you don't, everybody wants to give back. Sometimes they just don't know how or where it's best used. And I think that's where United Way can be a really good support. Like, if you don't know where to turn, come find out. We can tell you what's going on and we can find ways for you to engage that are a good match for you and that meet an urgent need. So
yeah, that's good, I think, for people to know, because I think just in doing this podcast, I found that people do want to help, do want to get involved, but maybe don't know where to put their energy or what might, like you said, be a good fit for them. And now they know they can contact United Way and you can kind of point them in the right direction.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah,
and we find ourselves doing a lot of that, like just kind of saying, oh, you're interested in this? We know exactly what's going on in that issue. We know a really good agency for you to be a part of. And so I think that's a really great thing about United Way is kind of connecting those. And you try to bring agencies together, too. We see them all. So it's like, oh, maybe we could work collectively on something. So there's a lot of opportunity in that too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's given me a better understanding. So thank you for sharing. And then I just have two questions I like to ask everybody that comes on. The first, kind of just to spread the love amongst nonprofits, is which nonprofit you think should be our next guest. Yeah.
So I got a heads up you might ask that, and I that's really hard. Sometimes to answer being at United Way because we support hundreds of nonprofits every year. Just our community grant making from our fundraising work is, over 130 or something
Wow,
unique
yeah.
nonprofits. And then, between money we raise and designate out and
Right.
all the other work we're doing with like the public health networks and
Yeah.
our housing coalition and all these things, there's 600 plus nonprofits that we interact with or support every year
Yeah.
with our volunteerism. So it's hard for me to pick, but
I can
a couple
understand.
came to mind because I've
Okay.
just done. So I'm just going to do ones. This is no knock on the others because
Sure,
everyone
yeah.
has their own great mission,
Right, of course, yeah.
But a couple that just come to mind knowing some of the needs out there and that I visited recently. So
Okay.
they're front of mind. I would say Gather over in the Seacoast works around food insecurity. Amazing. They're building a whole new space that is really dignifying the whole experience of the food pantry experience. With,
Okay.
and really teaching people to fish too, if you will, with a whole kitchen in there,
Oh,
teaching
nice.
kitchen. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And they have been really innovative. They have mobile units all over. There's some smaller organizations that do that in regions too, but I was just over there at their site. So they are in Portsmouth and
Okay.
doing a great job. And I know that any of the food pantries, local ones,
Mm-hmm.
or something larger like Gather over in Portsmouth is, with concerns around SNAP benefits and different things. Food
Yeah.
insecurity has been on the rise for sure. And so
Yeah.
I think anything around that is really a nice thing to get a shout out in and something people
Yeah.
can get back to quickly. I was just at Habitat for Humanity site yesterday when I was going through Concord. They asked if we'd stop by and just say hello to their board chair who was
nice.
working on one of the sites. And that was really inspiring, I have to say. They do amazing work. They were doing repair of a roof for an older couple in Concord that never could have gotten that done otherwise. And they do it so efficiently, all volunteer-led. Really amazing work.
Yeah.
I also think what's neat with them is they have volunteers who are retired. They have volunteers that are part of the Department of Corrections program, and they're all working together, and it's improving all of their
Yeah.
lives
that's
as well
great.
as the lives of the folks they're doing. So encourage
Yeah.
people to check that out.
Okay.
And then sometimes I think under the radar, but not organization is Friends of Anye, which works with grieving
I
children.
did have them
Did you
on
have
as
them?
a
Great.
They're
So, yeah,
amazing. Yeah.
amazing
yeah.
group too.
Yeah.
So just
So-
anyway, Christine and I were just chatting on some
Yes.
projects, and so I think
Yes.
that was that's always a good one as
They
well.
are,
And
definitely.
then I mentioned before, in addition to our housing work and our public health work,
Yeah.
we also do quite a bit of work with family resource centers across the state. So I would recommend any of them. There's a number of them across the state.
Okay.
And, we actually operate one in Plymouth, Whole Village
Okay.
Family Resource Center. And so those are just great. They look a little different in every community.
Sure.
The upper room is in Derry.
Yeah.
That's a great one for this Londonderry community. They really do unique work that helps families at all stages and
Yeah.
depending on the needs in the community, connect them to various resources and programming. And so they are really, I think, critical parts of every community as
Yeah.
well. We're doing a lot of work with them through both a contract. We've also done, we funded them and things through some of our community grants. So
Yeah.
I'd recommend any of them at any
Those
time.
are all great ones. So
yeah,
thank
so
you
you
for
can take your pick, but
Yeah.
I also just encourage people. We do list our partners that we've funded
Okay.
in our most recent grant making cycles, and as well as we highlight a lot of partner stories on our website. Again, graniteuw.org. So that's always a place to look to if you're
Okay.
looking for guests or if people are just looking
Yeah.
for places to check out that they want to
that sounds
interact with.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then the last question is, what does kindness mean to you? And can you share an example that you've maybe experienced or witnessed?
Yeah, well, I'm lucky because I get to see that every day a little bit. Like I said, I was just at that Habitat site yesterday to see all those
Yeah.
people interacting and just giving of their free time
Sure.
to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of kindness too, is just not judging and being open.
Yeah.
I think is a critical thing.
Yeah.
To me, that's the biggest thing, and I think that's why I got into nonprofit. My team's heard me say before, I did my volunteer year after college.
Yeah.
I stayed with United Way. A lot of that's because I had a family, a grandmother who was committed to service, volunteered probably up
nice.
till some of her last days. My mom passed away this year, and she was the most non-judgmental person I ever met. So I think that stuff's ingrained in me. And I think it's just about, when we shared stories about her, it was all about my cousins and people who she was always the one people came to because she never, no questions asked kind of thing when there was an issue. And so I think that's the biggest thing, being open to it, because then help people. And I'd like to think that's what we do at United Way too, is that we kind of open to all these partnerships and how we can work together and change. So
yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for all the great work you're doing, and thank you for sharing about Granite United Way. And hopefully people will go to your site and check out some of the opportunities to get involved or donate or whatever they feel like doing. So thank you again for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It was great. Thank you.
I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and learning more about Granite United Way. Thank you so much to Nichole for taking time out of her day to be on the episode with me and educate me about what Granite United Way does. And they are doing a lot of amazing things to help the community and other organizations in the community. And I hope that you will check them out and see how you can get involved, whether it be volunteering, donating, whatever might work for you. And as always, please follow Dose of Good Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. Also subscribe where you listen to podcasts and leave a rating or review. It really helps to get the podcast out there more so more people can have a dose of good in their day, because I personally think we could all use that. So spread the word, spread the good, and I will talk to you soon.